Soper Wheeler Company gets started primarily by the collaboration of two families, obviously. So Soper's hailed originally from the Wisconsin area. Chicago was their home office, and the Wheelers came from Pennsylvania.
The Sopers and the Wheelers both made their first purchases of California forest land around Strawberry Valley, the result of individual initiative on the part of both families that preceded the formation of the company. In 1904, the two families joined forces to create the Soper Wheeler Company.
Soper Wheeler is a tree farm, and what we do is we grow and we harvest trees. And here on the western slope, it's highly productive sites, and so initially what was thought is we could harvest the trees, let the seed hit the ground, let it regenerate naturally, and we could then continue that sustained yield process. The trouble with that is that when you disturb that high site dirt, what you do is you get competing vegetation established. And so we had to come up with an idea of how we're going to treat that and how to reestablish trees. So a brush project, which is a bulldozer with a rake on the front, would eradicate the competing hardwood species and would allow us to plant. We had some difficulties early on. Every plantation wasn't successful, but you learn as you grow and have come to the conclusion that we've got a pretty good handle with great personnel handling those activities.
Today, Soper Wheeler continues to be a leader in reforestation. It remains committed to growing trees, and as of 2003 had planted approximately 4.5 million in California. These reforestation efforts represent an investment of millions of dollars in California timberland.
I think Soper Wheeler's initial foray into sustained yield management probably starts strongly with the hiring of Bill Holmes as the chief forester in 1944. Bill was a Yale-educated forester, and he understood the concept of what a second-generation forest would be. So we weren't just harvesting the old growth, but we were going to manage forests and manage second-growth forests, which really hadn't been done in California up until then. Bill went ahead and hired a staff that included Bill Atkinson and Don Cousins, other very qualified foresters who in the 50s did a lot of experimenting. They experimented with the technology for clearing the forest and the technology for successfully replanting the forest. And they involved themselves in various research cooperatives with the U.S. Forest Service and other industry cooperators. And we continue that today to improve our reforestation practices. But it's challenging. We plant trees in the spring, and these trees have to make it on their own without any additional rainfall. And it takes a really hardy seedling to survive a spring planting in a droughty California environment. And there's been a lot of nursery improvements. We used to have our own nursery, and we're developing some of those nursery practices that successfully create very high levels of plantation success. Today, when we plant a seedling, we can figure about 98% of the time it's going to survive. So that's really good survival. When they started these efforts in the 50s, it was less than 50%. So this not only improves our efficiency, but it improves the ability of the forest to take over the site quickly.
Well, Soper Wheeler is about sustainability, and it's about stewardship. And what we do, we can do forever. And that is our goal here, is to continue with our sustainable harvests, to continue planting trees, to continue managing the forest effectively, to continue being a good neighbor, to continue keeping our forests in good shape.
We're here in Strawberry Valley in a very productive piece of forest land. This is what they call Site 1 timberland. This is ground that'll grow a tree 130 feet tall in 50 years. It's some of the most productive temperate forest in North America. This particular spot was an area of a wildfire in the late 1940s. The Barton Hill Fire burned through here, and this is one of our early successful reforestation efforts. As Dave had described, we actually cleared the site of brush with a track-laying dozer before my time, and planted these trees in the mid-50s. So these trees are a little over 60 years old. We've cut saw logs out of here in a thinning operation, and it's a very successful planted forest.
Paul describes some aspects of tree farming.
The first thing that comes to mind was the stop in Forbstown. We had a rubber-tired skidder is bringing logs down the trail into the landing on fairly steep ground. That was our operator, Ed Hecker, who's been with the company since the 70s. We had the shot, we went up to LaPorte. This is a skidder bringing logs into a delimber. Our operator, Ted Whiteley, is running the delimber, stroking the limbs off the logs, bringing the logs towards the loader, operated by Larry Thompson, who's decking the logs for future loading on log trucks. We have Derek McCutcheon, a second-generation Soper Wheeler employee operating our feller buncher. Derek's actually working in a clear cut. He's falling Doug fir and other species using a pretty large feller buncher. This is a log landing where a contract cable operator, Robinson Enterprises from Nevada City, is running a cable yarder, a Washington 188 cable yarder, logs being brought up on steep ground up into the landing, being handled by a heel boom loader, again to be loaded onto log trucks at a later date.
Well, looking back, the company has taken land that was cut over and went and replanted it and turned it back into forest, and a well-managed forest at that. And as we continue this cycle, every time that we plant a tree, that's not for us. That tree is going to be harvested 60 to 80 years down the road. That's for our grandchildren. And that's really what this business is about. It's about sustainability and long-term view.
The Soper Wheeler Company has withstood the test of time. They have grown and prospered for more than a century in California and now in New Zealand. In the future, they'll continue to rely on these time-proven business and forestry practices to do what they do best, grow trees. They're proud of their past, but believe that the next 100 years are going to be even better. Congratulations, Soper Wheeler Company. We are proud to have you in our community.